It deals with the word include or inclusio exclusio. It's dealing with include. And it also relates to the word birth on the birthing certificates and the actual meanings of this word. And the word exclude or include, these both words, are used in a term called doublespeak quite often. The word include is also used on a bill to include what is on the bill, which means in a legal sense what is included excludes all others. So when they're using this word include, it's being used in a legal sense, and you have to be very careful with it. Politicians love using it, and so does the mainstream media, because when they say something and then including something, what is included excludes all others in a legal sense. So in this video, Rowan is going to point out a couple of little things in relation to the meaning of birth and the meanings, their official meanings of what the word birth means, what it includes. So I'll leave you with this. It's only a short video, but it's really interesting, and it's good to hear Rowan's still fine and free. Take a look at this video. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Justinian Deception channel. Just a little bit more research that I wanted to sort of throw your way. All this stuff I'm about to show you it's irrelevant, but it's kind of how they're doing it. They're not even following their own laws when they do this stuff. This is sort of the best path that I can find in what they're doing. When in 2014, when Rom and I found the dog Latin, the all capitals, it killed the system. There's not, like, we can, everything we're about to show you, we can then say is criminal. So, but I just wanted to show you what they should be doing within their own system, and they're not even doing this, but it's as close as I can get to showing you what I guess their legal presumptions are and how they're justifying what they are doing to us. So why you are dead. So I'm going to start at the top as far as I can go. So this is the United Nations, and they call it United Nations because it sounds a lot better than Vatican Consolidated Slave Holdings. That's the Roman Caesar's wreath there, Rome, so the Vatican is Rome. This is running the world, and it's doing it by trusts. The trusts are obviously all counterfeit, so all the documents I'm about to tell you about or talk about are counterfeit, and you can't use them for anything other than operating illegally in this system. Calling it the United Nations is like going to an Apple store and buying a bag of apples. It's a private company. It's nothing to do with what it's called. All the people there are appointed, they're not elected, and they're all there to run CITES Trust, International CITES Trust. Now CITES just means location. So I'll show you how this ties in with you and how you ended up with a contract with the Vatican, albeit a counterfeit one. This is the Trust Hague Convention Act 1991. So put into the Commonwealth of Australia via the company called Australia. You can see the logo there, the all capitals Australia, and the rat and the chook. So this act, Chapter 1, Article 1. So this is just all the laws on trust. So the first thing you should be asking yourself is why the United Nations has a trust law in the Commonwealth of Australia, and why are they recognising them? You know, this could be done individually between each country via treaties, but they're doing it this way. So this is how you ended up with your contract. It's a bit wordy, so I'll try and get through it for you. So the purpose of this convention, the term trust refers to a legal relationship created inter vivos or on death. On death is the one we're interested inter vivos is during life, which is by a gift, by a person. So remember, the person is a corporation, company, or society from the Crimes Act 1900, I think it was. The settlor. So the settlor is the one who settles all the debts. So what happens is when someone becomes your trustee, they become the settlor when you're dead. That's the trustee. When you die, becomes your executor. That's the difference. An executor is the trustee of a dead estate. So when the assets have been placed under the control of a trustee for the benefit of a beneficiary, that's the only place you'll see beneficiary. Don't talk about us as coming back as beneficiaries much. I guess they never expected us to. So the trust has the following characteristics, and these are just all normal trust stuff. That it's a trustee it's not part of their estate. The title is in the name of the trustee, so this is the corporate name that they put on your birth certificate of another person. So the other person is actually you under the surname. So when you're under the Christian name or the Christian trademark, whatever they've done, you're the beneficiary. When you come back as trustee for yourself or trustee of a trustee of your own estate, you come back as another person. So they've got to put you back in there somehow. That's what they've done there. The trustee has the power, the duty and respect which he or she is accountable. So this is how they make you liable when you're trustee to all their laws, all their terms and conditions. These aren't de jure laws. They're all just terms and conditions that you've agreed to be trustee of your own estate. Now, if you have a look at the bottom there, this is a really important bit. The reservation by the settlor of certain rights and powers, and the fact the trustee may himself have rights as a beneficiary. They're telling you right there that you have the right to be a beneficiary, but you're not being, because you're being the trustee of yourself. And they said it's not necessarily inconsistent with the existence of a trust. It's not inconsistent with the existence, but it means you cannot be the beneficiary if you are being the trustee at the same time. So you're either going to get the benefit or you're going to be paying the benefit to someone else, because you can't be both in trust law. That just cannot exist. And that's the, being a beneficiary of your estate means you get the money. If you're a trustee, you've got to pay the money. You cannot be two people in one trust. That just defeats the whole purpose of a trust existing. So you're a trustee of your own estate in a little company that involves the police. It involves a bunch of other ranked trustees. So that goes from the Queen all the way down to the police to you. So if you're the beneficiary, all those people look after you. If you're the trustee, you've got to look after not only your own estate, but you've got to look after all those people above you in that trustee rank, that military. That's what the military is for, is to take care of these trusts, to make sure your estate that you own is not taken from you, but because you put yourself back at the bottom rank of all these other trustees. And there's a few sort of arguments going around about, you call yourself the Crown. And I know a few people that are doing it. I don't think it's a great idea, because the Crown is sort of the first trustee. And the police are the Crown trustee. So you're becoming just a higher ranked trustee rather than back to the beneficiary, as far as I can tell. So what happened? Article 3 of this Hague Convention on Trusts. The convention applies only to trusts created voluntarily and evidenced in writing. So the evidence in writing is a form of information in New South Wales. In Queensland it's the certificate of birth, not the birth certificate. It's whatever your parents filled in your jurisdiction. So there'll be a long form, I think, in America. That's the form that creates the evidence of the trust. Now your parents are actually the trustors, and the Registrar General becomes the trustee. So your parents trusted the Registrar General to look after your estate, which was a really big mistake, because they're not trustworthy at all. They don't put trustor on the paperwork, they put informant. Google informant, it comes up with prison snitch, rat fink, all these things, because basically your parents sold you out. So there is a trust there, there should be a trust there should be an estate there, and they want to keep the estate. So why the Registrar General would volunteer, because she volunteered, because there's no requirement in the Birth, Deaths and Marriages Act for her to be a trustee. She's just meant to be the custodian, the registrar of the documents. But your parents fill in the form, and then on mine, she stamped the back of it and said, well, I'm going to be the custodian of this estate and look after it for you, because she knows that she can issue a birth certificate to me, back to me, that will say I'll be a trustee of her. So the registrar volunteered to be the trustee, then you volunteered to be a trustee of the trustee.
Now think about this. Are you the trustee of the Registrar General of your own true de jure Commonwealth of Australia? Or have you unwittingly become the trustee of the Registrar General of a foreign United States registered Commonwealth of Australia company owned by the EU and the European Roman Rothschild banking system, being what could be assumed as a foreign banking cartel? So is this the deceptive dry exchange? Are Australians the real beneficiaries of the foreign company registered in a foreign district such as the District of Columbia? Well, that's the question.
Can you see how it goes? So the first document your parents filled in creates the estate. The second one appoints you as the lowest ranked trustee of that estate to look after it. It's a neat trick, and it's really quite clever. And that's what they've done. So that's why the birth certificate, you've got to get rid of it. I know that a lot of people are looking at, you've got to, apostille it and get it stamped and do all this stuff. I just don't think you can. I think you've just got to go back to being the beneficiary. We have no business in this world as the beneficiary. This is the trustees' underworld, the secret language, the codes, the devil, Satan. You sat in the trustee's seat. So I think this is what the Bible is trying to tell you. Don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Don't become trustee of yourself. Don't put the clothing on. Don't take the name. So that act, the Hague Act, is a federal act, and it says that basically wherever the trust is will go by that law. So this is the New South Wales Trustee Companies Act 1964. I was looking for the nexus between trustee and company, and then I found this act. So this is a trustee company which is basically given your estate to deal with. This act allows the Registrar General to give them your estate, and it allows them to do basically what they want. So they can act as an executor, which means, and obtain probate, and they can also obtain letters of administration, which basically means they can do what they want with your estate. But obviously you're dead because they're executor. They're not trustee, they're executor. So this allows them to apply to the New South Wales Supreme Court on your certificate of birth, the first one, to obtain probate, because they go, we haven't seen him, he's dead, we can't find her, she's gone. So a person named as executor may authorise trustee company to take out administration, CTA. So they can administer your estate, they can do what they want. And I found one of the companies is Perpetual, and they are administering it through JP Morgan. There's in one of the schedules of this act, it tells you all the companies that are doing it. So what I've done is I've tried to get in contact with the New South Wales Supreme Court to ask whether my FOI document, form of information of live birth or stillbirth, has been put through probate, and I haven't heard back yet. I haven't heard back from anybody actually since I put that FOI form in. Everyone seems a bit scared of it. So trustee company may be authorised to obtain letters of administration. So letters, I guess that's a granting of authority to do what they want with a deceased estate. So instead of applying, authorise a trustee company to apply for and obtain letters of administration of the estate. So they can, do what they want then. They're running your business, and this is how they through the US Federal Reserve, through the JP Morgan, back to the United Nations, how they're getting access to your estate, because they can never own it, but because you're missing, they can use it to invest on their behalf, and they can take the interest. But under the Cestui Que Vie Act, they have to give it all back. Under Section 4, that's your remedy there. Sorry I didn't put it in this video, I should have. Powers to delegate trusts to a trustee company. So this is a bit of the act that allows Amanda Iena in New South Wales to give your share of New South Wales, the land, the mining rights, the tax, everything to this company. One thing that was interesting, when I put this act in, this book came up, and this book is this is a page of it. and it's called the Power of Attorney in Australia and New Zealand. So proof of identity of donor and donee. So this act is actually imprinted on the back of my form of information. So this act says that this is proof of power of attorney. So under the Royal Trust Companies case, and the Land Titles Act, so they're taking your land off your Royal Trust, so that's the Queen coming in, taking all your stuff. She's all part of this. So they have to prove power of attorney. Now, they don't have the original documents. They said they destroyed them, but I think they've just traded them off. I don't think that's true, but I'll check on that and let you know. The original, so they've got a copy of that document to prove that they are the trustee, because they have to have get your dominion off you before they can give it back to you under a different, under you as a different role in the trust, trustee. This is pretty scary, guys. Certificate evidence. When a trustee company is executor or administrator, it is by law authorised to administer the estate of any deceased person. So I can get a certificate, say you're deceased. And what it can do is, despite any act or other law to the contrary, be accepted for all purposes as prima facie evidence. You can't really argue it. So without the production of any other proof of the death of the deceased person. So without any other proof, all they have to do is apply for a letter to say that they're the administrator and you're dead. That's it. That's your legal fiction, your legal death right there. 32A. That's pretty scary law, guys. Of course, all those documents are forged because they're all in the all capitals. This is just 145.2, I think, of the Criminal Code 995 or the Crimes Act. No, I can't remember which one I pulled out of. It's illegal at all levels anyway, so 10 years in jail for them doing what they're doing with those forms. This is why you can't have anything to do with it. This is why you don't want to be crowned. This is why you want to get back to beneficiary, and they can't identify you, you identify them. That's how it works. So make a false document. So, and this is a New South Wales law here, so the other one was the Commonwealth, this is the New South Wales one. Make a false document to influence exercise of public duty. So you can't have a false document. They did get rid of all the false birth certificate laws though, but we'll get to that. This is just the police standards publication management. So they're your co-trustee in this. This is why you have your little company, because you and the police are there to look after the trust together, and if you and the police can't agree on something, you go to the court, and then the court decides on what you should be doing best for your estate. So you actually sort of become a police officer in a funny way, an officer of the court. This document is their styles manual. So it says using capital letters, presenting whole words in capital letters, uppercase, including family names and place names, is not generally appropriate in business writing. It's not only appropriate, it's illegal. 254, using a false document. 255, possession of a false document. 256, making or possession of equipment for making false documents. Part 5A, this is the Criminal Code 1995. 307A, false or misleading applications. 307B, false or misleading information. 307C, false or misleading documents. So yeah, I'm glad that they don't consider this generally appropriate, because it's criminal. Basically, use only one capital letter to begin a sentence or indicate a proper noun, e.g. a person's name. So they're telling the police right there, don't use all capitals except. And this is a strange part, guys. This is a really strange part. This applies to all New South Wales Police Force documents except legal documents. They have to be counterfeit. So there we go. That's straight out of the police style manual. You can look it up. So the police will only make a counterfeit document if you're going to go to court. And they'll only commit that crime. And this is interesting because under the Nuremberg principles, which the Rome Statute, the International Criminal Court operates off, if you're an officer and you follow an illegal order, which this is, you're screwed. You're going to be charged. That's what they did with all the Nazis. So, and that was the Nuremberg principle. There's another one where the superior officers are also liable. So I can't think of the name of that one offhand. I'll get it back to you. New South Wales Police, corporate branding and policy standards. Well, that corporate, they're a company. They need they're an equity entity. They need consent from you. And as you saw that volunteer thing earlier, in that act, when you volunteer, so Amanda Anna volunteered, and so she doesn't get paid. She's got no rights in law. But then you volunteered, and then you don't have any rights in law, because volunteering, equity does not assist the volunteer. This is equity, and you volunteered, so you've got no rights at all. You didn't get paid to do it, and it's all forgery. It's just a New South Wales forgery one, I think. A person makes a false document with the intention that another person or another will use it. So, yep. And so that's what the police are doing. Oh, it's the Yamamoto principle was the one that puts the high-ranking police in charge of the... They should have known what their lowest officers were doing, and so they get liability in the International Criminal Court that way. My case is still going in the International Criminal Court, guys. They tried to send a letter to NSW, so I just sent it back. It takes about a year to get a letter out of them, so I don't know what's going to happen there, but it seems to be going okay. They seem to be taking it fairly seriously. Okay, so now I want to get down to a name of a child. This is the Births, Deaths and Marriages Act 1995 in New South Wales. Name of child. Child being underlined. So the birth registration statement must state the name of the child. I didn't get that. I got 2 trademarks. However, the registrar may assign a name to the child if the name stated in the birth registration statement is a prohibited name. Just remember that, prohibited name. We want to have a look at that. A prohibited name means a name that is, okay, so obscene, could not be used. So part B, number 2 there, because it consists of or includes symbols without phonetic significance. Now this is my argument from the start, that the all capitals is a trademark and therefore does not have phonetic significance. It's not a name in English. So, and D down there is contrary to the public interest for some other reason. Well, the other reason is that it's a criminal act to make a false document, which I've just shown you. So this is what they're registering. They're going against their own act. And I've noticed they've been trying to now make the birth certificates a bit more compliant by putting the name in title case, but the original birth certificate, the form of information, is still a counterfeit document. It's still fraud. It's a forgery. It's not written correctly. It doesn't have phonetic significance. It's a prohibited name and therefore should not be registered under this act. Under this act also, I just want you to have a look there. This is section 4 definitions. Birth includes stillbirth. That's really important, guys. Remember the expressio unius exclusio alterius maxim from the last video? So the mention of the class of one thing is to the exclusion of another. So a birth includes a stillbirth. That's it. So it doesn't include a live birth. Up there above it has adult means a person who is 18 or above. So birth should be written, birth means a stillbirth or live born or live birth. It doesn't say that at all. So that includes always comes with that caveat, that maxim. And a child down the bottom includes a stillborn child. So that includes, again, excludes anything living. So you can only register dead babies under this act, according to the maxim. So this is how you get your presumption of death. So this is presumption of death of the beneficiary, because you can't be a beneficiary if you're dead. And then, as I showed you, they probate your estate because you died because you probably didn't write a will in utero, or a couple of days old when they killed you off. So this is what's happening. So stillbirth means the birth of a stillborn child. So isn't it interesting that birth includes and stillbirth means? See the difference in the way they write these things? It's really tricky. So stillbirth means the birth of a stillborn child. So everything's telling you this is dead. So a stillborn child means a child that exhibits no signs of respiration. So here's your legal fiction that you're dead. So, you know, that's it right there. And you can only register under the Act. You can only register a dead child. That's it. So there's your legal fiction. Stillborn child. So this Act is only dealing with dead babies. It's pretty awful. But the legal fiction once again requires consent. How did you consent? Well, we'll get to that. Guys, the false birth certificates. We had a bunch of laws that stopped it, but they've all gone. They've all been repealed. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can get them under the false documents, but they've really tried to cover their tracks here by making themselves not liable for a false birth certificate. You think that, you know, a false birth certificate should be a crime, but yeah, it's all repealed. And it was even taken out of recently. It was taken out of the Federal Act. The Criminal Code 1995 has removed anything to do, because I pointed it out to the police. I said, look, here's the Act, here's the crime, here's the birth certificate. And the birth certificate disappeared. The federal police just basically stole it, and then the law changed that there's nothing to do with birth certificates being illegal, you know, false birth certificates being illegal in the Act anymore. So they're trying to get around it, so obviously we're having a bit of an effect. Just a maxim from Black's Law: an error that's not resisted is approved. So you've got to be across all this stuff, guys. Sorry for the capital A there, didn't know that happened. You have to be very careful. So you've got to be very careful what you agree to. You can't even walk into that court. The police can hold you for 4 hours and then they've got to let you go. So don't sign anything, don't agree with anything. They'll lock you up for a bit, they've got to let you go, because they've got to... The police's job is to get you to consent to the contract. That's it. And you've got the right to consent, and you've got the right not to consent, and I'll show you how that works right here. This is the last slide, and I'll leave you with this one. Non potest rex subsidium rententum honorari impositionibus. The king cannot load a subject with impositions against his consent. She requires consent. So what they've done is created this consent system that's so complicated you'll never work out, one, how you ended up consenting, and two, how you undo your consent once you've done it. It's a presumption of death. It's the use of this demonic, you know, as Rom said, bullshit Babylon language. It's everything tacit consent. It's presumptions of death when you're a baby. You died intestate because you didn't write a will. All these awful tricks that these people do. And that's from Black's Law, Volume 7, page 1667. So if you want to have a look up that one. So they do require consent. And I saw once a maxim, all men are created equal, but by a series of events they become unequal, and the series of events is the contract. Ron pointed out to me the other day that God is actually the contract. If you read the Bible and you replace the word God with contract, oh my God, it's my contract. What happens in there is it changes everything. You really start to see how the whole Bible system works. So anyway, guys, that's how they're doing it. It's all run through the Bar Association or on the police using their own styles manuals that they shouldn't be using and giving illegal orders. And they're creating these false documents only when they're going to court. But it's not a court, it's just an arbitral tribunal because it requires your consent. These are the King's or the Queen's courts. So therefore, they need consent. So it's just a really neat trick they've got of getting your consent. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you in the next one. Cheers.